Welcome, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another vibrations on this here BrBpTV. Be real, be positive television, brothers and sisters. This is the very first out of 3 reactions I'll be dropping on this here YouTube platform, brothers and sisters. So welcome to every single one of you guys. Of course, the next one I'll be dropping will be in a Mr. Leaks reaction, guys, around 5:30 p.m. today. And of course, the next one I'll be dropping will be around 7:15. This one is going to be an important one, brothers and sisters. In that regard, we're going to be reviewing the situation that took place today in CALIBISHIE, brothers and sisters. With the whole thing, brothers and sisters, we're going to get that vibrations. Of course, it was on MO News, and of course I'm going to be reacting to it. Some rather interesting stuff we'll be talking about on this here reaction today, but of course looking at the full scope a bit later on, 7 to 7:15. Tune in for that vibrations, brothers and sisters, where I get to interact with you guys as well. So we have a number of things today, brothers and sisters. Welcome to every single one of you guys who've tuned in, and of course that will be on the BrBpTV YouTube platform, like I indicated before. The other one I'll be dropping on the Mr. Leaks reaction, guys, a bit later on today. So welcome to every single one of you guys. I do appreciate every single one of you guys for definitely tuning in. And of course, brothers and sisters, don't forget to do what? Hit that like button, brothers and sisters. Click the thumbs up button. I would appreciate it right there. And if you've not done so, subscribe, brothers and sisters, so you'll be notified when I drop my videos right there and then, especially that of which will take place tonight, brothers and sisters. Tune in. It is very vital that we tune in for the information, brothers and sisters, which of course you guys tend to tune into your voice. Of course, without further ado, brothers and sisters, let us get into the vibrations for today right there. Now, brothers and sisters, there was a whole fiasco surrounding in CALIBISHIE a few days ago, brothers and sisters, and of course a number of persons actually asked me, Mr. Leaks, where is the PARL rep, man? Why wasn't the PARL rep there? Well, actually the PARL rep was actually there, but there's something rather interesting that you need to notice in this interaction right here. So this is the PARL rep. This is the PARL rep right there, brothers and sisters. Notice the PARL rep is very quiet and everybody's talking amongst themselves. I would think that the people want the PARL rep so that they can talk to the PARL rep about certain things, but apparently they're looking like they're ignoring the PARL rep, or the PARL rep has a certain position that she holds, but it doesn't seem like people respect her position to that regard, because they are completely ignoring her and talking amongst themselves. Look at this. You see what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters? So it seems like somehow they might not have taken her position very seriously. I'm not trying to bring down on her. I think she's a wonderful person, especially when she comes to start her business in that regard, and of course she elevated to the point where they put her as PARL rep. But when it comes down to the serious of the situation, where the PARL rep is actually there and people are pretty much talking amongst themselves, the police is tuning into them, she's tuning into them, and they're having a discussion amongst themselves. Yes. No, guys, I really do. I mean, what can we say about that, brothers and sisters? I understand that she was put in a certain position, and of course, on the merit of the certain position, it is not just saying, oh, I'm going to represent the people, but when you meet with the people, there would have to be some level of respect, I would think. That would be vital, but this is just a short clipping, so maybe she was talking initially, but I think the interaction should have been within the PARL rep. But it doesn't seem like they're taking her too seriously, because, I mean, and initially they were trying to get everybody to calm down and this kind of things. There it was a bit difficult to get individuals to calm down, and the PARL rep is actually right there. But it seems like the PARL rep was there before, and nothing of that sort seemed to have happened. I think the 2 previous reactions, the first one I did when it came down to that situation right there, it seems like she was bringing the same plans for the people. Again, I'm not saying that she knew about it or of that sort, but it seemed like 5 years ago that plan was brought in. 5 years later, that same plan was brought back again, and that's why there was a whole uproar in that regard. I also heard, brothers and sisters, that some of the CALIBISHIE individuals, some of the youth I've heard, I'm not really sure who exactly, young or old, whoever, when the Chinese started doing the stuff, they took away the Chinese equipment. That is something I say, brothers and sisters, please bring back the Chinese equipment for them. It is not the Chinese fault. It is the government's fault. Full blame, 100%, why all this situation is happening. If the government had properly communicated with the people and said, hey guys, this is what we're going to be doing. And of course, that's what they actually tried to do today. I said try because from the little snippets I saw, it's rather interesting to look at right there. But when it comes down to the position, it's not just saying, oh, I hold a position, but it seems like she needs to also command that authority, because the position she holds commands authority in that regard, and whereby that individuals need to listen. But apparently, you know, maybe she's just, okay, I'm not gonna hurt my voice on these folks, let them talk until they calm down, then I'm gonna talk. Maybe that's what she was trying to do right there. But from the different interactions I've seen, it seems like that position might be a little, you know, interesting for her right there. Don't get me wrong, she can do her thing, but it seems like the people don't really respect the authority. Maybe because they think that she's way young, a young person, and there's like, okay, whatever that young person come in, it's not you that we want, is the prime minister. I've heard that individuals also stated that as well. The PARL rep can't do nothing. I even heard a particular individual saying we need to get rid of the PARL rep and the council, all the council people, and we need a new PARL rep and new council. I've heard individuals saying that in this situation right there. They even call the government, you know, a bottom, you know, a bottom exit. So that is a very interesting thing to have realized right there. Anyways, brothers and sisters, this was also part of what took place today. So this was about 2 days ago, or a day ago, 2 days, I think, 2 days ago. But this was today, brothers and sisters. And it's interesting to hear what this individual had to say right there.
It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person, because long before you were the Prime Minister, my father told me you were going to be a great man. So on behalf of my father, thank you. Derek, look, we only went to Trinidad with the Minister of Education on a trip, and since that time he always told him you were going to be a great man.
So he said his father has always told him that SKERRIT was going to be a great man. But that is also loaded right there. You know why I say it's loaded? Because if you understand what greatness is, it can also be in the negative and in the positive. Because if you look at King Leopold of Belgium was known as a great man. But he was also a great man, and he got his fame as a result of taking the lives of over 10 million Africans. Yes. So some of us tend to look at, you know, Hitler and a number of these folks who took about 1 or 2 million, you know, of the Jewish individuals. Whereas King Leopold of Belgium took the lives of 10 million Africans. So if you're talking about greatness, you have to be mindful of what you're defining as greatness, or define greatness for us. And it seems like that's probably where he's heading, because he was making a lot of noise when it comes on to SKERRIT. Anyways, let's continue right there.
So I want to start off by saying that I want to say thank you to you for destroying my dream, because we're still waiting for the field in Kinfield.
SKERRIT 19. Who is he talking about?
I want to start off by saying that I want to say thank you to you for destroying my dream, because we still
SKERRIT.
waiting for the field.
That's something else. SKERRIT, you they talking to? The man said thank you for destroying his dreams.
And that was the reason why. That is the reason why.
We'll fix it.
No.
What do you say? You will fix him?
That was the reason why. That is the reason why.
We'll fix it.
No. Hold on.
Maybe I didn't hear what he said properly. I heard something about fixing. I don't know. Let's continue.
That is the reason why, when the plan was originally brought forward, we did not accept it.
Yeah.
And as somebody who lived in town, who never got my playing field back, Master playing field was sold because now that is private property. Emzol houses on the field, Bath Estate never fixed. The reason why Kenny G singing nasty business is because Windsor Park, the park he grew up under, never changed. Roseau used to have a lot of vibrant men. Man used to walk in the
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
bag their boots. Parents didn't see their sons for days because
It seems like so I'm listening to him, brothers and sisters. I'm listening to him right there, and he's talking about his dreams, thanking SKERRIT for ruining his dream, for screwing up his dream, on the basis that he never really got back his playing field, so to speak. And he's talking about why other individuals are doing certain things, because maybe they would have been good in sports, maybe they would have been, you know, probably playing for the national team or playing for some international team if they actually had the resources that they could use to elevate their skill sets. But apparently, when he was living in Roseau, from my understanding, they screwed up the park. They screwed up the park, so he was not able to perfect his skill set and all this and things there, which makes sense as to why he's so passionate about not destroying the CALIBISHIE park, which makes sense. It makes total sense. I know he's talking about why Kenny G and these individuals are thinking about nasty business, because apparently they maybe didn't have nothing or were not able to further, you know, go into the thing that they like, their dreams. And of course, he's thanking SKERRIT for screwing it up for him. So Yeah, SKERRIT finally meets you face to face after telling you what his father said. You'll be a great man, and then coming to tell you thanks for screwing up his dreams right there. So I understand why he's very passionate about the park right there.
Everybody was going to Windsor Park, and the destruction of Roseau young men has been a direct result of Windsor Park disappearing. We did not want that in Calibishie. And you see the second plan, the one where the school, and if the only comment I have, we play football, not cricket. Yeah. Besides that, the plan good. I was actually one. I like the plan for the school because I can train people in customer service, in cookery, in bartending.
Hey, uncle want a job in this school, so uncle preparing that is his resume. I can do cookery, I can do all kind of things. He can train people in customer service, all these things. Uncle is talking about right there. Hey, I don't knock in you, bro. You see the opportunity, take it, my boy. Of course, things are hard in the Commonwealth. Where you see opportunity, take it. But it's interesting that you found this way to do this right there. So
customer service, not
how did the person say?
Service in cookery, in bartending, customer service, not just football.
I think means chef, but hey, cookery.
I qualified in those things, and I want to help my community. But we did not like the fact that they got a plan that was not realistic. We did not like the fact that we were not given the respect of what happening now, a proper plan, a consultation.
Well, he's right. It seems like he's much calm. I've heard a number of persons saying that it seems like the people of CALIBISHIE, when the Prime Minister came, seems to have been scared. And he is actually the only one that would actually stick with his plan, although he calmed down in his regard, which of course makes sense because with the energy and this kind of things that he say, we want the Prime Minister them to come. They're not looking for the PARL rep anymore, which I indicated before, because it doesn't seem like the people have any faith or trust in the PARL rep. Well, then again, Dominica has a history of getting PARL reps that don't really do nothing. So I would not necessarily blame Lakia, but I would blame the general culture that has been created as a result of PARL reps not doing nothing for the people, and therefore the only person that looks like that can actually do something is the head. So they want to go bypass the PARL reps to the head right there. So there's no empowerment. It seems like that is the case because when you look around, brothers and sisters, what exactly are the PARL reps doing in the communities? Can you tell me? Are the PARL reps looking to create jobs in Portsmouth? Are the PARL reps looking to create jobs in Collio, in St. Joseph? What exactly is happening? Are they building infrastructures to help the economy when it comes down to the GDP of Dominica, creating products that can actually add to the surplus instead of the deficit and the debts on the GDP, brothers and sisters, via the percentage that we have? Are they doing anything at all? So it makes sense why they want to bypass the PARL reps and go straight to the top, because apparently the PARL reps are not doing anything. One of the indication of that is straight out of Maho, where the individual came up to the PARL rep and say, hey bro, there's not much jobs going on, there's nothing for the youth, what exactly is going on? And within that discussion, the PARL rep responded, I am not your God, I'm not a God, I'm not your God. Which is very interesting, because the people put you in positions to do things for them, they're not seeing you do things for them, and they come in to confront you about, hey, look at this and that, look at this and that, and you're telling them that you're not your God, you're not your God, which is very interesting right here. So I'll understand why the people looking to bypass, which is why rather interesting, why are they voting for the PARL reps? And then I remember during election time, particular individuals were telling me it's not the PARL rep that they're voting for, they're voting for SKERRIT to give them money. I've heard a number of persons saying that before as well. They say they don't voting for the PARL rep, but if they vote for the PARL rep will put the Prime Minister in power, the Prime Minister in power will then come back and give them monies. So it's interesting why that is right there. But of course, he's thanking SKERRIT for screwing up and ruining his dreams, because they screwed up the playing field within the areas that he was staying right there. This is why he's so adamant about not destroying CALIBISHIE's playing field. And of course, that is the case right there. Anyways, brothers and sisters, moving along in that regard right there. I remember there was also a journalist from Emo News right there who had a question for SKERRIT, and this is what SKERRIT did.
That's right. Okay, I'll come back. No problem. All right.
May I ask a question now?
No, you're a press, you're a journalist. I am here talking to CALIBISHIE people.
Well, as I mean,
journalist,
we're talking about sustainable development
No,
goals.
you're a journalist, madam. You're a press conference.
So they're having a meeting for the people of CALIBISHIE, and then there's a question and answer. I would understand if SKERRIT was giving a speech or whatever and he was talking, and then the person said, you know, I'd like to ask a question. I said, okay, later on, or something like that. I would understand that, but it was question and answer, and the individuals that are there are asking questions as pertaining to what he was saying, because according to the journalists or the individual speaking on behalf of Emo News right there.
No. Journalist, madam.
Well, as I mean,
Journalist,
we're talking about sustainable development
Journalist,
goals.
madam.
She was trying to make reference to the sustainable development goals, which the Prime Minister apparently most likely spoke about right there. And instead of answering the question, the Prime Minister deflected and said, you're a journalist, and he's talking to the CALIBISHIE people. But the journalist is there on the basis of the very CALIBISHIE people, for which statements you have made that they're trying to clarify, and you can answer. You can't answer that simple question. You say no, don't answer. Well, actually, she didn't ask the question. She was making a statement on the sustainable development, and they're trying to get a little response in that regard. And you neglecting this. I saw another. Well, I don't know if that person is still a supporter of SKERRIT, right there, brothers and sisters. But I remember back in the day talking to that particular individual about the very same situation involving the government, and that person was very strong when it comes down to the Dominican Labour Party. From my understanding, he may have been paid from time to time, because I remember sometimes he was quiet, and then all of a sudden he just started on a campaign trail. So he may have been getting paid, you know, the opportunities there for him to get some monies, and he decided to use it. He said, what else is there, you know? Maybe that's the inside. But he made a statement in that regard right there, based on what SKERRIT said right there. You are a journalist. Interesting. We don't try to embarrass ourselves in front of the world. SKERRIT said on camera that you are a journalist, and as a result of you being a journalist, he doesn't want to answer your questions right there on something he stated. It's very interesting right there. Comrade, if you can't handle the tough questions, just say that, Papa. And then you notice SKERRIT talking about, you know, this about this.
Yeah, when you have a press conference,
What?
journalist, madam. Yeah, when you have a press conference,
You said when you have press conference, you'll come in, or something of that sort. But it's interesting that he's mentioned in press conference when he knows that he does not allow certain journalists to come in to ask him the real questions. And the journalists that are present are fearful of losing their positions of being part of the press conference. Journalists have told me this before, brothers and sisters. Well, one particular journalist has specifically told me this before. They don't want to ask questions that will render them not having the access to come back again. I say improper journalism, and he was trying to tell me all along, you know, you're doing journalism, all those kind of something there. I say, best of how journalism go, when you ask a question, and the individual that you're asking a question answers the question, but it's not totally clear, you are supposed to ask a question or rebuttal that question to find the answers, because the people are listening. Because the people are not there, you are there representing the people, and to clarify certain things, you are not rebuttaling or asking another question that pretty much pertains to the answer. You're just moving on. That doesn't give the people any sort of answer at all, especially when the answer given does not make adequate sense in that regard. I remember when Matt was the individual, or well, another individual that was there, and he asked the question concerning the Prime Minister's giving themselves raise, a 30% raise, and they asked him on the basis of the economy. And instead of the Prime Minister saying, you know what, well, we've done well in the community, and I think we're trying our best to do things, which of course is not the case at all. That's why he probably ignored the question. He answered and said, well, he doesn't think that journalists should ask them these questions. You're taking money from the public purse, more money from the public purse to pay yourselves on the basis of what criteria? You have increased your salaries by 50% already, and a number of other percents for which I'm sure, and then you're trying to increase your salaries again on 30%. The only conclusion I could think of, these brothers and sisters, they are trying to ensure that the individuals who are there in government do not go against the government, so they give them a raise. That's my only conclusion in that regard. But when the Prime Minister has asked the question and he says he doesn't think that individuals or journalists should ask them about salary raises when it's from the public purse, and nobody's concluding, nobody's counteracting and say, but you know, I think it's vital because it is going to affect the public, and give your references and these kind of things, and let the Prime Minister answer. But apparently the Prime Minister does not want to answer any sort of hard or tough questions, according to this individual right there. Comrade, if you can't answer or handle the tough questions, just say that you cannot handle the questions. Do like Biden. Biden has a PR or whoever that tends to answer questions. Sometimes most of the time, she's just What she says makes absolutely no sense at all. But she is one of the representatives who comes to answer questions on behalf of Biden. And I think what is going on there doesn't make any sense, because the journalist is asking you a question based off sustainable development, for which you are trying to portray and push to the people of CALIBISHIE, and you're saying you not answer any questions, you answer the CALIBISHIE people, but it pertains to the CALIBISHIE people. It's a very interesting time that we're living in right there. But of course, this individual, I definitely have to agree with you. This individual is not overseas. Maybe his eyes is open, or and seeing things a bit differently, and realize, well, wait a while, Dominica is a sinking ship as a result of this very man right there. Dominica is a sinking ship as a result of this guy. Now, we see this guy, brothers and sisters, but we must also look at the why factor, which is these individuals right there. And who is voting for these individuals, brothers and sisters? The people. So, generally speaking, it's the people who is the problem, why we are in this predicament right there. For 5 years, they came back to bring the same plan. 2 years later, completely ignoring you, brothers and sisters, and you understand why in the live reaction, why we're going to indicate the sentiment of why the government completely rejected what the people had to say. They rejected it. They rejected it, brothers and sisters. This is why they are there again, to propose something new to the people finally. But remember, the Chinese had started barricading the area. We will talk about that later on, brothers and sisters. So definitely tune into that right there. Anyways, brothers and sisters, moving along in that regard. So the journalist right there also, I'm not sure who this guy is. Some person from the government, from my understanding. This guy, because we saw him right there. This is him right there, brothers and sisters. So apparently he decided to interact with the journalist. And when I talk about interact with the journalist, it seems like it was one-sided. Take a listen.
I just giving you basic common sense. I'm not giving you any. I'm not speaking on behalf of nobody. I'm just teaching you basic common sense.
So you're teaching her basic common sense on the question that she asked on the basis of what the Prime Minister stated. So what is basic common sense to you? I think that needs to be defined right there. He's trying to make the journalist look like a bad person, but I know what's going on, brothers and sisters. Let me just make this whole thing.
I just giving you basic common sense. I'm not giving you any. I'm not speaking on behalf of nobody. I'm just teaching you basic common sense. I'm giving you basic common sense so that you can help you in terms of making decisions. You are making statements without understanding basic. You're asking questions, but just.
So you see where he's coming from, brothers and sisters. It is very clear for a person who understands personal behavior and people's behavior on a I wouldn't say philosophical point of view, but on a societal point of view, brothers and sisters, societal point of view, you can tell he was basically on a deflection basis. He was not there to answer the question. He was there to try to scold the individual that was asking the question. Because you see him starting off saying he tried to give you common sense. You cannot give people common sense, sir, if you yourself don't have common sense to even understand the difference between a question and a statement.
I just giving you basic common sense. I'm not giving you any.
She should have asked you, what is basic common sense? What is the basic common sense that you're trying to give? Or did he say it before and we just seen a snippet of this right there? Hopefully we'll get to see what that is, that full thing in its entirety, in the live reaction around 7 to 7:15. Around that time, brothers and sisters. So tune in. All right then.
I'm not speaking on behalf of nobody. I'm just teaching you basic common sense. I'm giving you basic common sense so that you can help you in terms of making decisions. You are making statements.
Why is she making decisions on a question that she's asking you? She's asking you a question and you're saying on the basis of making decisions. So you're not here to listen to what she has to say. Or you're here to you're here to put your own philosophical understanding of whatever that has absolutely nothing to do with what she's saying. I mean, do you listen to yourself when you speak sometimes?
Without understanding basic.
So she's making decisions and she's asking questions, and you see she's making statements, and then you realize it's not statements she's making questions.
You're asking questions, but your questions must be scientifically based. You must not.
On what scientific base must questions be? What? Scientific base? Scientifically based, brothers and sisters, really? Your questions must be, maybe me I didn't hear it properly.
Your questions must be scientifically based. You must not.
Your questions must be scientifically based? Or do you mean logically based? Scientifically based? You know what science is? Science is observation. So you're saying her questions must be based on observation? Which is trying to ask you questions and you say the statement she making? Boy.
Ask questions that don't make sense. You're trying to compare a school with an airport.
If we knew the answers.
She's not trying to compare a school with the airport. She's trying to talk about sustainable development on the basis that you guys are saying you're going to be doing groundbreaking thing, which is interesting because I've never known that people are testing ground to build schools. But I could be wrong, brothers and sisters. I know the reason why they test the grounds is because they have jumbo jets and these things that come in, so they don't want the ground to sink and so forth. So they have to test the ground to ensure that the ground is not sinking and, you know, so forth and so forth, brothers and sisters. They're talking about testing the ground. That's what they're going to mention there.
But how can you compare a site of a school with an airport?
What I was comparing is the
You're
fact
speaking to
that
listeners.
what
And
I
if you're
was
telling your
comparing-
listeners that you can compare a site.
So you see, he's not giving her a chance to talk. That is another tactic that they use to make their authority over you be known. But what she should have done is just stick to her point and say, this is what I'm asking you. Why are you making all these baseless statements? And this has nothing to do with what I'm asking you. You're trying to impute common sense on her. And you think she's making a statement, which means you didn't listen. This is why they say you have one mouth to speak and 2 ears to listen, you know. So you should be listening more than you speak. Which is interesting because you're just talking. You're trying to impute what she never said. In your mind, you're thinking this because you didn't listen.
Site for a school. Then I must question your listeners.
What I was
Then
comparing.
You must question the listeners. Why are you questioning the listeners? Well, what? These are the people. These are the level of incompetent. These are the level of incompetent people. Not these people are not thinking properly. I was going to say some words, but I rather keep it. You know, they don't think properly, brothers and sisters. So therefore, they just run off emotions. It's clear that he's running off emotions right there. This is not a man. Men don't just run off emotions because they're trying to protect themselves. They use logic and they take their time and speak and listen to what you're saying, and then they continue. But you're not doing anything of that sort. You're just constantly talking.
Careful because you're trying to say something about your
What I
listeners.
was comparing is the fact that we see studies being done concurrently. That's what I am comparing.
I explained to you and you still
And
did
then
not
I had a
understand.
follow-up question.
But I
That's
explained to you
it.
and you still did not
But
understand.
anyhow, thanks.
We will look. He said he explained. I will see if he explained, brothers and sisters. We're gonna look at that right there.
For explaining to us, like they say, knowledge is power.
But
He didn't explain anything because you still had questions, unanswered questions. So why are you thanking him for in the first place? Why are you thanking him for when he hasn't answered the question? Because you asking him a question, he's talking about imputing common sense in your head and then telling your listeners, You see what they're doing on you? They've been coming for the listeners. So that means they are an agenda before they arrive in that area. They probably tell themselves, hey guys, none of us are going to be talking to the journalists out there. That's probably why SKERRIT came and say you're a journalist, he's not talking to you. Interesting.
still look like you did not understand.
Well, if she did not understand and she's asking you questions to clarify, and you're trying to impute common sense into her, I don't think you got it. I don't think you got it at all. This is why these people cannot debate, brothers and sisters. This is why they cannot debate. Because they know the questions that they will be asked they will not be able to answer. Instead, they will try to attack you and tell you this is the first thing, from the video that I got, this video right there.
And you're the
I cannot speak.
studies
I
for
just
the
giving you
entire
basic
area.
common sense. I'm not.
So he's pretty much saying that she doesn't have common sense. She doesn't have common sense to ask you questions, and then you're imputing the questions to be statements that she's made when she's never. What you should have asked him is, what statements did you make? Instead of correcting him, you should ask based on what he said. When you're doing journalism, brothers and sisters, you listen to what the person said and then you ask the questions on what they say. So what you should have done, you should have asked him what was the statements that you made. But of course, he's going to deflect. Usually when they deflect, that's when you get them, then you ask the question right there. But anyways, this is also very interesting stuff right here. Brothers and sisters, tune in for the next reaction to the Mr. Leaks reaction. And guys, it also concerns this very media representative right there. So you definitely want to tune in for that a bit later on the Mr. Leaks reaction. And guys, of course, if you enjoyed that video, brothers and sisters, what are your thoughts? Leave your thoughts in the comment box below, brothers and sisters. I'm gonna go eat my lunch, but leave your thoughts. I want to see what you guys have to say. Maybe it's just me that probably did not understand what was happening there. Maybe I'm slow in that regard. Maybe he's very fast, too fast for us, and he's on another wavelength, brothers and sisters. He's on another energy realm that we are not accustomed to. So what are your thoughts, brothers and sisters? What are your thoughts on this individual right there? What are your thoughts on SKERRIT deflecting or pushing the journalists aside to not answer the questions? Because of course, I remember him in Trinidad when they asked him an important question, and of course he tried to also deflect the question by saying he doesn't agree with the question. Something that actually happened. SKERRIT is telling the journalists in Trinidad that he doesn't believe that happened because he does not know it happened. He was not prepared as CARICOM chair. He was not prepared for these kind of questions right there. So that means he doesn't really care about what's going on. So much less for Dominica. Why would he know? Brothers and sisters. So that's one of the things that they have right there, brothers and sisters. They avoid the questions, the proper questions. And sometimes I think during the press conference, when they actually have the press conferences, they have to give them the questions before. This is one of the reasons why, and the reason why I'm saying this, brothers and sisters, because I remember when the priest came out to ask certain questions, or not ask questions, when the priest in Trinidad came out to pretty much give the understanding of what certain documents that they want the Caribbean officials or government individuals, prime ministers, whoever, to sign. And that question was asked to SKERRIT on the basis of trying to push anti-man business. SKERRIT then was ready for that, which means he had the question already sent to him, and as a result of the question being sent to him, he was already prepared to again give the information from the thing. So they tend to give them, that's science right there for the individual, that's science right there, observation. I observe that, and I can conclude that is exactly what happened, because you cannot just say me, you just foresee, foresee, boom, bang, that thing not going to come to mind. But it's rather interesting that he forget that there are certain things hidden under certain words. This is why, to break it down again. Yes, they were pushing the anti-man agenda, and not just anti-man agenda, because certain things are going to be removed and definitions are going to be changed. They already start that with the P. You have to say certain, be mindful of YouTube. They're changing definitions, brothers and sisters, and as a result, they're pushing things under pluralism. Pluralism is the acceptance of pretty much everything. Anything you believe, you can Google it yourself. Pluralism. Anything you believe within yourself that works for you. It's kind of like Scientology, but Scientology is a bit more, has a little more thing to it. A little thing. Whereas pluralism is just the acceptance of everything. Whatever you believe, if you decide you want to go sleep with your animals, and if you decide you want to go mess with little ones, if you want to do your anti-man business, this kind of things there, nobody should talk against it. The church cannot speak against it in a moral basis. None of these things can happen. And of course, pushing these kind of lifestyles upon the people, which of course is another thing. It's disguised as pluralism. And it's apparently SKERRIT didn't know that one. He thought he was going to written word for word, It's very interesting right there. But he signed it, unfortunately, brothers and sisters. He signed it. Even though the priests and everybody warned against that thing right there. And it's still, there's also the case, apparently, that went hush, I find. There's also the case against anti-man. And it seems like the government was trying to say, well, if it comes, and all this kind of something there, whatever. Well, that just went quiet, brothers and sisters. So was it implemented or not? But they're not making it publicly known. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait for the journalists who are part of this, what they call that again, the press conferences, to bring it out. Anyways, brothers and sisters, what are your thoughts, man? Leave your thoughts in the comment box below, guys, and of course tune in for the next reaction I'll be doing a bit later on today, brothers and sisters. It's your boy Mr. Licks. Once again, remember, guys, be real. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. Click the like button, and of course subscribe and turn on that post notifications so you can get all the videos as they tend to come through right there. And then your boy Mr. Licks, once again, be real, be positive.